Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Talk number 11. It's been a while since our last Tech Talk with Alexis Roussel of NIM, so we're very happy to be back. And first, before we start, I want to thank Montel, who's doing the DJing, live streaming, broadcasting, and taking care of the stream. And I also want to thank Thiago, who's going to collect your questions and who has helped me prepare and manage the live itself. We have a very special guest tonight. It's Mika. I'm very happy of tonight's program. It's exceptional. He's our lead front end. We've never had him in the past, and you don't necessarily know him, but you for sure know his work because you've used the desktop wallet, you've seen the website, you've seen the Explorer, so you know. He has quite an extraordinary itinerary up until now. By training, he's an environmental engineer. He studied in Lausanne and went straight for the startup world in a car automation company where he first met Cheng and Alois. He then entered the blockchain world at Like, which was one of the first Swiss exchanges, still is actually. And then he joined Alephium in 2019, which is almost 4 years now. That's quite a run. He's been everything from product manager, dev, designer in a few successful startups. He's been developing for 10 years. He's been designing stuff basically forever. And he's a very passionate individual and a perfectionist, a very rare profile indeed. We're very lucky to have him work with us, and I'm very happy to have him with us tonight. So the program for tonight will be that first I'm going to do a very little roundup of our latest news and publications, just to keep you up to date on the state of content, the community. Then we'll get on with Mika's presentation, followed by a short Q&A with me. And we'll have time for questions from the community. We'll have ample time, actually. So you can drop your questions either here in the chat on YouTube, down there, or in Discord in the lounge, if you're not connected on YouTube. The goal is for this to last an hour, so we have plenty of time. And put your questions there. We're not going to ask them right away, but we will pick them up and ask them at the end. So let's go for the little roundup of news. Since last time, we've had a lot of things happen in our publications and in the community. I'm going to talk about the things, and Thiago is going to post them, the links in the chat. So if you want to open the links for later, you can easily find them back. First, we've had the APS article talking about the asset permission system, which is a key system that differentiates us from the EVM and allows for better solution and avoiding problems like reentrancy. Then there's we launched the NFT marketplace proof of concept. So you can mint, buy, sell NFTs on testnet, and importantly, give us valuable feedback to evolve it further. The DEX proof of concept is live too for a while now, as well as the bridge on testnet. We're soon mainnet for sure. But by the way, as you probably know, the first DEX that is built on Alephium on mainnet is launching very soon. Ayin, probably in the house. Check. Following up on last Tech Talk with Alexis Roussel from NIM, we actually took quite some time to write a powerfully dark but full of hope article on the interview. And we got subsequently invited to NIM's community call by Pseudonymous, who's done an amazing job. And this has actually led to something that I can announce today officially. Alephium is one of the 4 wallets that is natively supported in the NIM Connect app. So you can use the desktop wallet of Alephium directly, natively connect through the NIM Connect app without having to enter provider. And this is only like the 3 other wallets are Electrum, the Monero wallet, and Blockstream. So that's quite cool. Thanks for the NIM team. They've been amazingly supportive and like just it's a great collaboration. Big up to CGI and Oheka, who are very constant presence for us as well. The community has been on fire since the first ALF, but with an F, tokens that have appeared on mainnet. And those have been very quickly followed by Paca, Berry, and Tails, and more are coming. We've had 2 fantastic interviews with Dr. Jekyll, who's from the AIN team, and Ben Narki of the Alpaca. You can check out the community highlights and the builders highlight that are gonna be passed in the comments. And today, last but not least, we're releasing the article that is a recapitulation of the first dev workshop that happened with Cheng and with Hong Chao like a week ago. So it basically allows you to start building a simple dApp like a faucet on chain today. This is the first of many, and we're very happy of the feedback we got, like with a lot of people attending. So that's the recap. Upcoming, we got a lot more content coming on Stateful UTXO, on Blockflow, and an update on the NFT marketplace that's going to come in the next week, or from now to the next week. And without further ado, we'll start with the presentation of the day with Mika, who's going to explain to us how it works, for what, and what's the process. So I'll leave you the floor.
Awesome. Thank you, Vlad, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you everyone for attending. All right, so let's get to it. Let me share my screen. There you go. All right, so I'm gonna talk today a little bit about how I'm trying on a daily basis to build products, applications for all humans. So basically how I try to hide complexity and hide the technology away to make our innovation accessible to everybody. I have a few of first principles. So those are my first principles. I can't say that they are universal. The first one is to iterate. Like in my work, both when I'm designing and also when I'm coding, I iterate a lot. And I'm gonna explain a little bit later what I mean by that. I'd say don't be scared to try things live in production, because according to me, that's the only way to actually innovate, by trying things with your users and not only in your head or in your own company. Try to be as simple as possible, because simple is beautiful, but simple is also really hard. And it's especially hard for engineers, actually. And last but not least, don't try to reinvent the wheel. But sometimes, actually, you can try to reinvent the wheel. All right, so this can appear a little bit confusing, but this is fine. I will try to explain what I mean by those first principles. First one, iterate a lot. So that's to talk about iterations, I will talk about when I joined Alephium, so 4 years ago now. My first task was basically to redesign the logo. That was the old logo. I don't think a lot of you actually know this one. So I needed to design a new logo, build the visual identity, build multiple slide decks because we were trying to raise money. And so I had to think about what would Alephium be, and what would the image of like the branding be. And to do that, well, I started iterating. And so I did hundreds of designs for the logo. And my goal was to try and incorporate all the concepts that we had in mind. So we wanted the brand not to be too, focusing on hype. We wanted it to be like to inspire trust. At that time, we wanted to remind a little bit of of Switzerland. That's why you see a lot of red. Nowadays, we want to be global, so this changed. But those were the main concepts behind the designs. And so after hundreds of iterations, I finally arrived to the logo you know today. And the conclusion is like good design takes time. There are exceptions. Sometimes you have the right idea right away, but most of the time you have to put a lot of effort to actually build good design. And so basically today that's what I do. I iterate, I build solid foundations, and on a daily basis I'm adapting, evolving according to the markets, to the trends, to the community feedback. And so the brand and the designs are kind of a living thing, and it's never static. That was about pure design. But what about products building? What about the UI and the user experience? It's basically the same. So you need a lot of iterations to actually get to a mature, easy to use product. And the little fun fact and little fun story, back in 2017, I was absolutely certain that the blockchain industry was mature, that this would be the bull run to bring blockchain to the people, that we would see massive adoption. But actually, I was totally wrong. It took way more time than that, and I would say that today we are still young. Like, it's the onboarding, the accessibility of most of the blockchain apps are still not good. And so what I saw is that UX needs even more time than technology to actually get to a mature state. And so at Alephium, what we are trying to do is to push the industry forward, not only with our tech, but also with our like front-end products. And to do that, even though we are small, we try to lead by example. That's a little sneak peek of a few mockups that I did for the desktop wallet. So you can see the details, but what you can see is that there are many variants of the same design. So when I design a screen, so let's say the overview screen that that is in the current version of the desktop wallet, I start with the first idea, and then I create dozens of variants that I try on people. I try in the team and with myself, and I go back and forth. I come back to it. I create new variants. And at the end of this process, I converge towards something that I consider good enough. And yes, I'm a perfectionist, so the good enough state can be quite, far on the road of the design process. A little sneak peek of what we are doing right now on the mobile side of things. So don't worry, it's coming. We are working on it hard. Maybe we will talk about this later with Vlad, but I'm still refining some part of the UI. Still not happy with the user flow in some areas. But yeah, I'm iterating and trying to find the best, to come up with the best experience possible. All right, second principle, don't be scared to try things live. So you may know this tweet. It's really recent. It's from yesterday, actually. Twitter is not really Twitter anymore. It's X now. And from one day to the other, the little cute blue bird was gone. And we've seen Elon Musk state that the logo will actually evolve a lot over time. He actually tried already a variant with like thicker bars, and I find it really interesting how he is actually experimenting live and testing the user base with variants and new things deployed in the production app. So that's something that we don't see a lot, but I find it really interesting. I would argue that you don't really know that your product is good until users tell you that it's good. And so you just, really stuff. If it's not good, then you fail fast and you fix the problems, you iterate and you improve. Third principle, keep it simple. Simple is beautiful, but it's also hard. The questions that I ask myself are, how do you design an efficient and easy to trust and use tool without being cold and boring, without appearing too gimmicky, too gamify, or falling into hype too much, and without sprinkling useless info and noise all over your designs. Here you can see it's a little screenshot from the Rainbow wallet. I really like the Rainbow wallet, but some parts of the interface are a little bit too dense, in my opinion. Maybe a little bit too gamified, and so I think it's really important to strike the right balance and give some space to the designs and focus on the most important information. And for engineers, so at Alephium we are pretty much like, I think the whole team pretty much is made of engineers. So I'm also developing, and so when you know the code by heart, the complexity, it's sometimes quite difficult to abstract this complexity while leveraging the full potential of what you've built. This is a screenshot of MetaMask, so previous version of MetaMask, but not that old actually. And yeah, you can see the complexity behind it. So yeah, when we are building our products, we try to hide this complexity by default. So you will see in many places in our apps that we have clever ways of giving access to advanced stuff or more detailed stuff, but those are hidden by default. And so if you are kind of a new user, you don't know the stuff very well, you're not overwhelmed by really dense information or many features that you will likely never use or use in a couple of years when you will finally understand the tech. Because we don't want to be boring, and because we kind of want to give you a good time when you're using our products, we add fun little details here and there. So if you've used our apps, you've probably stumbled upon some of them. But the thing here is to find the right balance. So it shouldn't be like everything shouldn't be animated. It's really only some little things here and there. And we try to focus on the current action because there's a lot going on when you are sending transaction, interacting with dApps. We don't want to have everything paralyzed on screen. So when we know that the user wants to do something specific, like toggle something, we put the focus on it. When the user wants to see the values on a chart, we reduce the opacity of the blocks that are around the chart, and we put the focus on the current action. Last principle, don't try to reinvent the wheel. So this is basically what we do at Alephium. So we are not scared to be inspired by the best. So we try a lot of products, and as the field is moving really fast, we are always, you know, looking out for new stuff and try to get inspired by this those things. We compare what we do with the widely adopted products. We don't build blindly. And I really think that it's not because we are not big, like we are a small team, it's the truth, but it's not because we're small that we can't do big things. So we shouldn't be scared to actually, you know, target high quality delivery. And sometimes you're just convinced that you can actually do better than the mainstream products. And in those cases, if the risk isn't huge, just try it, because you may just be right, and it's actually by trying new things that you innovate. Otherwise, you're stuck in a loop. You try to copy the best, but you don't bring new stuff to the table. So little example. So internally, we had a lot of discussions about what kind of wallets we wanted to build. So historically speaking, we started with the desktop wallet, and then when we started to offer, like, to play with smart contracts, dApps, etc., we wanted to offer an extension. And I was advocating for trying to add a way for the desktop wallets to actually sign things and interact with dApps. But you all know that the usual way of doing that is through an extension. And I'm actually quite frustrated with extensions, because many times, like, you have a small screen space, you click outside of the extension by mistake, and so you have to get back, like, reopen it and go through the user flow again and redo the action from scratch. Yes, in some extensions you can like expand the window, but then usually you can feel that it was not built with like a big screen in mind. And if you compare with what we can do with our desktop wallet, you're in the dApp, you just click on use the desktop wallet, the app opens automatically. We put the focus on the current action, you validate, and beam, you go back automatically to the app. And the focus is always on the most important action. And if you have a big screen, then you can decide to actually use the whole screen estate to manage your crypto and focus on the important stuff you're trying to do. So those are the things that we are experimenting with. And I'm really happy that we are able to actually offer both experiences, because then we can actually collect feedback and see what our users are using, how they are using it. And then, we will evolve, iterate, and continue to improve. So yeah, that's basically it. I wanted to thank the whole community, because I think you're really amazing. We got amazing feedback regarding our wallets. You found really edge case bugs, and that's also absolutely amazing, things that we didn't find before. And so thank you for that, and I'm really looking forward to building more great things for you in the future. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Mika. Awesome presentation. Keep it simple, stupid. Like I like this idea and not reinventing the wheel. There's a lot of these things that reflect the way the tech works actually and what inspired it. So I think this kind of mix of the form and the background is a very nice interaction. So let me ask you a few questions, and then we'll get to the questions the people are asking also. First, I want to ask you a few questions on you. First, how did you get along with Cheng to start working with him? Like, what convinced you to come at Alephium?
So I knew Cheng. So as you said before, we were kind of working together in the first startup I was in, and well, I knew that Cheng was absolutely brilliant, and was actually really inspired by his skills. So I think I didn't really think twice. And yeah, I was already in the blockchain field at that time, and so I was really happy to give a hand. So it was quite natural.
Okay, cool. And what? How did you fall into crypto? Like, is it just because of a job that you ended in crypto, or did you like were convinced otherwise?
No, it was actually before the first crypto job. Uh, I don't remember exactly the first project that I discovered, but I remember that we had a discussion with Alois, one of the Alephium co-founder, and it was before the Ethereum ICO actually, and I just didn't understand anything about what he was talking about. So it took me a couple of years to actually get back to it like myself, and I really took the time to appreciate how this technology could bring important things, capabilities to this world. And I think the first things that caught my attention was decentralization, and the fact that we could actually register many things publicly. Uh, and as I'm an environmental engineer, like the capabilities to actually trade energy, the energy markets, to decentralize this and have a way more efficient way of consuming energy was the thing that brought me into this initially.
Interesting. And like, can you tell us a bit more about like what does your what does your day look like? How do you work?
Yeah, well, it's a lot of context switching, because I'm designing all the user interfaces, but I'm also developing, and I'm working with Elias, and I'm really fortunate to actually be able to work with Elias because he's a wonderful developer, and so I switch between designing, coding, um, planning to the next tasks. Uh, so I really like it actually. It's a lot of many like different things. I'm also working with you guys for the marketing and communication content. So yeah, a lot of context switching. I'm never bored. Um, so yeah.
I was listening to you talking about the Elon Musk experiment of testing in prod, basically, right? Like he
Yeah.
just launched it and so what happens. How does the perfectionist in you like handle that kind of idea? Is it something you would be able to do?
I think I personally I evolved quite a lot in the past couple of years. Um, because I realized that if you're really trying to bring to the market the perfect product, you will never deliver anything. So yeah, I actually like this approach. Well, I think the guys working with Elon Musk must really become crazy. Like
For a lot.
the people in marketing probably fired everyone. But I think it's an interesting approach. Like if as I said in my presentation, if the risk is not big, like if it's just a matter of a visual thing, just try it. Um, and then the key is actually to react fast. If you see that it doesn't work, just don't go that way anymore and try something else. Um, so yeah, I think it's interesting. I wouldn't be that extreme. I think it's good to prepare the things internally first and then get it out and try things. But it's an interesting experiment.
Yeah, one could say it's a bit heavy-handed.
Yeah.
I want to get a bit in the weeds. So, for example, you said you create a lot of variants, and you showed some of them. So, but how long does the process take? Because, like, I mean, people who have no background in graphic design have no idea about that. Like, so you started like, okay, we're probably almost there on the mobile wallet. When did you start? Like, what's the kind of time frame to get from an initial idea or desire to create something to the point where it's released? How like give us an idea of how many variations or screens or flows you have done for that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. Like it's really an evolution. Like the desktop wallet 2.0 as it is today is an evolution of the 1.0, and I think everything combined, it's hundreds of screens that I designed. For the 2.0 specifically, it's probably, you know, a design evolution that spanned across a year, maybe. And it's actually design phases. Like sometimes it's a little bit too much. You're caught up in your preconceptions and in your design, and it's really important to take a step back. And when I want to take a step back, I go back to coding, and then you're back again to the designs with a kind of a new mind. And for me, it's really important to be able to do that. I don't know. I'm really impressed by designers that are designing all day long, because at one point, for me, it's just too much. Like I need a fresh brain. So yeah, for the mob,
you get a fresh brain by coding. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's really two different parts of the brain that are working. It's funny, but it's refreshing to go back to code when you've done a lot of design, and the other way around, it's true as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like when we look at what you guys are producing at the front end, we can see there's plenty of space of area between things, right? Like you're not cluttered. You're trying to keep it simple as much as you can. You say that, like actually in your presentation, you tend to abstract as much of the complexity of the interface. Why, like, the question I wanted to ask you is like, what's the audience? What's the target audience for your tools? Like, how do you think who of the people who are going to actually use your tools?
Yeah. So eventually, the goal is really to build a product that can be used by pretty much everyone. Of course, at the beginning of the project, we knew that we wanted to target more advanced user. We wanted to bring developers in so that we can, grow the ecosystem. But that being said, even though we had a preferred target audience, from the very beginning, we started to build the foundations for accessibility. And so that's the ultimate goal, is to have a wallet that is actually a little bit like, I'm talking about the wallet because that's the focus now. That's a bit like the wallet you have in your pocket. Like you don't have to learn anything before opening it and using it. So yeah.
So you've touched a little bit on the subject of it's fairly unusual for layer ones to have such a developed and actively upgraded desktop wallet. So you actually touched quite a lot about that in your presentations, but like, is it something you're still on? Because at the end of the day, you're now producing a mobile wallet, right? The mobile wallet has kind of the same form factor as a browser extension, right? So you have the same possibility to put data and like elements on it. Like, is it something that makes you rethink that position on the browser extension? Like, if you manage to actually do something that is satisfactory for you on mobile, will it translate to the extension?
That's a good question. So the form factor is indeed similar. but you have tools on the mobile wallet that you don't have in an extension, like the ability to use your camera to scan
Yeah.
QR codes. So also the risk you're taking, like the mobile wallet, you're having, like, you go in public places and you're using it.
Yeah.
The extension is, it's on your computer. It's maybe a little bit more private. So it's really similar the way, I would say, the way you could build the interface. But I think it's important right now that actually we are able to offer both products. And for me, it will probably attract a different kind of people. Like I can imagine like that a lot of people will actually use the mobile wallet to check their balances, like, in a glance. You just take your mobile, open the app, bam, right away you see how much you have, what's the price, etc. The extension, I think, is useful for dApps interaction and developers. It's a small form factor. You don't have this wallet connect layer, so that's the thing we're using in the desktop wallet. It's another piece to the puzzle that is in an intermediary. So it brings a little bit of complexity with it. With the extension, you don't have this complexity thing. So it still makes sense today. But my goal, and we'll see about that, but is to design the mobile wallet and eventually to port the design to the extension if it's good. Yes.
Is there going to be like a watch-only version, like a mode of use of the mobile wallet, so that I can just see my balance but not access my keys actually on the mobile? Is it something you have in mind?
It's not planned yet, but I think it would be quite easy to do, and I think it's an interesting idea.
Cool. And like, okay, let me move on because we start having a lot of questions from the audience. So like that's a question I have, like, that I find it really interesting. I want to drill down a bit on it. We're a sharded blockchain, right? We are a UTXO blockchain. We will have contract storage rent when we deploy contract. We have all these things are very complex for normal users, right? And normal users probably don't need to see them. But for example, you have this minimum requirement for each UTXO you're using, right? So you're transacting with a few tokens at the same time. You can do it, but then you have to have a little bit of alpha for each. What's your process for thinking about those things? Because like, on the one hand, you have this window that you offer the world, a world of normal users. On the other hand, you have this complexity of the thing they're interacting with. So what's your process for thinking that and meeting in the middle?
Yeah. So first of all, those things are also complex to me. Like, we had many discussions internally to make sure that we get it right before we try to explain to our users what it is, and before we actually build the interfaces, of course. Usually, and this is what I really like about Alephium, like, we are really transparent, and so it's easy to communicate. So I go to Cheng, we talk about those specificities, those complexities, and together we try to find the best compromise. I'm always trying to first try the simplest solution, simplest implementation. If it's not enough, and we know it's not enough because the community is actually, giving feedback, and if we are lacking some features or some details, then we complexify a little bit. And if we have to complexify the user flow, then we always try and educate the user. So we put links, easy to reach links to the documentation to explain what it is. So yeah, that's basically it, like trying to go as simple as possible first, and if not possible, we educate the user and we give links to documentation.
Okay.
Documentation. Yeah.
Brilliant. Like, another topic that is like you said you were interested in the way blockchain allows to decentralize the energy markets, for example. But the thing we are actually seeing, for example, in the EVM market is like there's DeFi protocols, right? And then there's smart contracts, but then there's also front ends, right? People interact with the front ends most of the time. So first, they have access to less opportunities. There are also more opportunity to be censored, and at the end of the day, you get to something that's fairly centralized. So there's really a trade-off between the comfort of centralization and the power, the sensorlessness of decentralization, right, which comes with the cost. You can see it with iOS, right, which is very comfortable to use, but Android allows you to sideload apps. So in a way, you can do things that you cannot with iOS. So how do you think about that? Like this question of sensorlessness versus comfort of use. How do you integrate that into your thinking?
So I usually take inspiration from the products that are the easiest to use, and indeed, most of the time, those are the centralized products. But I think it's like an intermediary step, and hopefully, at one point, we will manage to match those user experiences and hide the complexity away. So yeah, I take inspiration from those centralized services and try to replicate the same user experience. Yeah, as simple as that.
Interesting. Like, okay, now I have the classic question: when mobile wallet? Can the devs do something?
Yeah, the devs can probably do something. So we are, you know, we always say that when you think you are the 80% of the development that is like achieved, then the 20% left takes the same amount of time as the first 80%. That's basically where we are at. So we had to focus on supporting the tokens and the NFTs in our current wallets,
Yeah.
desktop wallet, the Explorer as well. So we needed to make quite a lot of changes across the whole front-end product line. The focus was on that. I also wanted to refine some of the mobile designs. So we already have a functional product. Pretty much all the features have been ported already. So it's a matter now of tweaking, optimizing. And you know, mobile development is quite complex because compared to web development, you have many, like you're targeting many devices on two different platforms, two different OSs. And so optimization actually plays a big part in this process because you want your wallet to be able to run on other devices as well. So yeah, this takes time.
Okay.
But we will get to it.
So soon, TM, right?
Soon, yeah.
What's your just quickly because we rarely talk about it, but I think it's an important element of the ecosystem. Like, what's your vision for the Explorer? Into what does it evolve from what it is today?
Yeah, I actually really like the Explorer. I really like building it. I think it's a really nice playground. You can actually try things. You know, we added those charts on the homepage. It's been a while now. I'm polishing. I'm finalizing the implementation of NFTs and you know, tokens right now. I think a good Explorer is a service that really allows you to understand what's going on the blockchain, obviously, without having the users drowning into too many details. I often come across really complex explorers. And for me, it's really not a good first impression when you discover a new project and like you're trying to use the Explorer and it's laggy, it's not well built, you don't understand what's going on. Like it's supposed to be a window on this blockchain world, but when it's too techy, I think it's kind of counter, yeah, productive. Like it's the impact is bad. So yeah, trying to find the right balance. Yeah.
Cool. As you're also like, it's a big family of product and services in the end. Not all of them are yet in the branding family, but like I wanted to ask you a question about the branding, and then I'll get to the questions of the people. Like the Alephium brand is constantly evolving. That's fairly atypical, and it touches all the components of the visual identity, like the logo. It changed the colors, the layouts, the palette, everything. When do you stop? Like, I mean, how do you think about this evolution? Because every time you change something, you have to change it everywhere, right? Or you end up with having like very differentiated things.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's something that I love. Like people are still able to recognize the Alephium brand because the logo, the shape of the logo didn't change, the name didn't change, the typo of the logo didn't change. But from the very beginning, I remember when I designed this logo with this little accent. It was red at the when I first made it. We talked with Cheng, and I was like, yeah, we could freely change this color. Like if we decide to stop focusing on Switzerland, for instance, we just stop using the red that much. And actually, I really like it because I saw the logo being used, like on Gate.io, for instance. They have the version with the little gradient. On CoinMarketCap, it's another one. You always recognize the brand, but it's a living thing in a way. It's evolving, and I think we are in like the industry that is probably the most fast moving industry in the world, one of the most fast moving industry in the world. And personally speaking, when I come across a project and it's hard for me to understand if it's still going, like if something is happening, like you don't see any article in the blog, the website is the same for like a couple of years, I'm like, okay, this is probably dead. This cannot happen with Alephium. Like if you follow us, so first of all, of course, thanks to your job, like you go to the social media and you understand that a lot of things are happening. But if you open the apps, the wallets, the website, you will see something new very frequently. And I think humans are really adaptable. Like we can adapt to new things. Probably Elon Musk thinks the same. If you look at Twitter. So yeah, I think it's an evolution. We will probably eventually converge, stabilize, let's say. Like things will probably evolve more slowly at one point. But for now, I really like actually, trying to keep getting better and adapting to the market. Yeah.
Interesting. Like so, it's alive is the main takeaway.
It's alive.
I like it. Like CGI asked in Discord, is it very different in terms of UX to work on a sharding chain and a non-sharding one? It's actually a very interesting question, and it's actually related to the question of Poker Table on YouTube also, who asks how easy or hard is it to create a real-time UI to see the sharding functionality on a website and show the data moves. It might be a neat side project, etc. I can actually answer that one after that, because we have tried to do we have not tried, we have done schematics to show how block flow works, the sharding algorithm. So I can answer that. But like, so what for you, is it different in terms of UX to work on a sharding chain?
Yeah, but actually not that much. And I think it's because Cheng and Co did a really good job making the tech accessible. The thing that pops into my mind right away is the groups. You know, when you need to create an address, you're a miner, you need to make sure that you have like an address per group, these kind of things. And it's typically those, like, it's a good example actually where by default we try not to show this complexity.
Mhm.
It will only be shown to, let's say, miners that are creating a wallet to mine. And at that moment, we will say, hey, if you want to mine, then you have to do this more complex thing. And this more complex thing, actually, we created a shortcut for it. So that instead of having to manually create those address in those 4 groups, you just click one button and it's done automatically for you. So yes, it's a little bit different, but it's not that complicated. I would say UTXOs are much harder to handle.
UTXOs, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was saying about the visualization of the block flow algorithm, the sharding itself. So first, as a user, you don't really need to see the sharding, because the sharding is under the hood, right? You don't know, or you didn't know that in your cable phones there were several threads that were taking the information with it, and you don't know that the optical cables are small in your building, bigger in your basement, and even bigger between continents. You don't, you know it, but you don't really know it. So
That's a good
sharding,
analogy, yeah.
I think it's the same, but it's technically interesting to understand it, like the game of like dependencies on how you keep the shards going along together, which is quite one of the USP of Alephium. So
Yeah.
first, we have a video on YouTube that dates actually from 2019 that pretty much the 3 axes of the sharding. It's not completely accurate, but gives you a good idea. And Thiago is going to share it in the Discord. So that was to answer Poker Table on YouTube. And second, we're going to have a schematic. So we do it as well as we can, but it would give you a good idea of how groups, shards, chains interact with each other, to allow for a single unified ledger on top of a sharded infrastructure, basically. Leonard Bradley on YouTube is asking, he says, I was curious about your favorite way of collecting user feedback that you use to gauge user experience and identify improvement areas. Is it mainly from Discord, Twitter, or do you use metrics?
Yeah. So we actually so there are maybe 2 different kind of feedback. Like the passive one, how our users are actually using our products, and the active ones, users come to us and say, hey, I found a bug. So we are actually collecting anonymized metrics, and this allows us to know, for instance, if you know, a very specific feature is actually used or not by our users. If not, we might consider removing it. If we see many people like doing too many clicks to get to some things, we could try to simplify the user flow. So this we do, yeah. We are collecting metrics, and the best way to actually, you know, give us feedback if you have ideas and you want us to improve some aspects of the wallets. So social media, I think it's good. Like we have people pretty much always online, and they actually collect feedback and like give them to us. So that's super nice. The most efficient way to directly come to us would be to open an issue on GitHub, but only if it's really an issue or a feature proposition. That's fine too. But please try to, you know, format your ideas or your bug report properly. But we are always open to receive feedback that way. but any way works. Feedback is always appreciated.
Cool. And like Poker Table was asking again, if we have any plans to have a UX for wallet addresses to onboard non-tech users. We need to make it as easy as possible to send funds. So I think what it's referring to is something analogous to ENS addresses. So the ability to have like addresses that are understandable with words. That's my interpretation. Like if Poker Table does not agree, you can say it in the chat.
Well, this would be super nice. This is definitely not a front end thing, but I think we had discussions internally about like this idea. If I'm thinking in terms of adoption, I really think it would be good. We don't really like to work with big strings numbers to identify people. So yeah, that would be good, but it's probably not up to us. It would be up to the ecosystem and the community to come up with something like that.
And we don't identify people in any kind of way because anyone can have like multiple addresses, and that's very important in general. So that leads us to the perfect last question from ZKI Beats, ZKIT Beats, actually, Skid Beats, I guess, which is a regular, but like I never said it out loud. So after the mobile wallet, what focus or milestone will be targeted next from your side? What's your next big thing? Is it going to be a browser extension? Is it going to be an NFT? Is it going to be, what is it going to be once you have a unified family of wallets?
Well, there are so many things to be done. But yeah, I would love to come and help with polishing the extension wallet if we think that it's something that is wanted. But what I know for sure is that we would like to develop a library of example dApps. So basically experiment with our own technology and create showcases of how you could use it. And as I explained in my presentation, also putting the focus on user experience and not only having a raw implementation just for aimed at developers, but also having like polished apps to also give ideas to the people that are designing the apps, the not only the tech people but also those who wants to start a business and they want to get inspired. So we would love to do that, work on dApps and try our own technology and show how we can build great stuff with it.
Cool. So that I think that these are perfect last words for today. I really like the don't reinvent the wheel, abstract the complexity, do not renounce the technicality and the complexity, but manage both like tradition and innovation. I think this is we walk on two legs. One of these is a very complex infrastructure technical leg, and the other one is a very for humans, like onboarding people for important use cases, which is yours. I think it fits the overall ethos very well. I'm very happy to actually work on such a project as well. You said it also, we have an amazing community. We want to see you keep building new tokens, new ideas, new things. That was our tech talk for today. Thank you, Mika. Thank you, Montail, which you don't see, but has been behind the wheels of this. Thank you, Thiago, for posting the stuff. And we will see you soon, all of you, on Twitter, of course, every day, on Discord every day, on Telegram every day, on GitHub, if you have an issue that is well structured. But thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.